Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the IMBA Cup 2 with me, your host Guile, and this is going to be Game 2 in the semi-final match between Armageddon and Nefarious. If you didn't see Game 1, do check it out on my channel, but Nefarious dispatched Armageddon in pretty convincing style, I have to see. Very different map to this, of course. Finn's Revenge it was, and he marched a lot of T1 into Armageddon's base and his commander, and you just can't do that on this map, so it's going to be a completely different style of play and also a lot more mass to play with. You're not going to be seeing any of those comm rushes and base trades going on. It's going to be a lot more standoffish, probably a lot more air, and going with that theme, Armageddon goes with his classic T1 bomber opening that he seems to favour so much, and once again Nefarious opts to counter it with basic land, and he's probably going to get some mobile AA out to defend. Obviously in the first game he managed to defend very nicely against that early T1 bomber from Armageddon, kept his engineer alive that was working on the hydrocarbon. Be interesting to see if Armageddon tries to snipe this engineer again with that bomber. Really, and it's a good style of play against Armageddon, because if you can manage to pick this engineer off, Armageddon doesn't build a lot of power. He literally starts building his hydrocarbon when he's only got two other T1 powers up and running, whereas of course Armageddon seems to favour lots more T1 power, and he puts the hydrocarbon a lot further down the build. So we shall have to see how it works up, but now T1 bomber not actually beelining it, looks straight for that, and obviously Nefarious has anticipated this move. He's moved his AA right out to the front in order to protect these engineers, but instead Armageddon's going to skirt around the top, and he's gonna bomb some of the mass. Actually, I like that you know, he's making use of all of the runs for his bomber, not wasting anything. Is he going to pick up this engineer? Yes, he does. So already he's made some use of it. Very nice bomber micro. You can see very quick on the target selection, managed to get lots of bombs out nice and quickly. So Armageddon making pretty good use of it. You can see why he favours this bomber. It's obviously something he likes to do a lot. I do like this, even though it's not really going to change the game that much, taking out one or two small pieces of reclaimable mass when there's this much mass available on the field. But still, every little thing counts. There's not a lot for them to do in the early stages, so they can afford to concentrate on the micro. But taking a lot of fire now on this T1 bomber, and that's going to get shot out of the sky. So a little bit of harassment there, hampers the expansion of Nefarious ever so slightly, but nothing too drastic. And this time Nefarious will be working on air a lot earlier. I mean, we didn't see any air from Nefarious in Game 1, but of course you need it on a map of this size. In Finn's Revenge you can get away with focusing on T1 spam, but it's not the case in this. You definitely need to get air up and running, if only for defensive measures, even if you're not going to use it to attack. But he has managed to get a transport and ready, and he's got it loaded with engineers. Let's see where this is going. So he's bringing it up down here somewhere. So very aggressive move. He looks like he's probably going to be constructing some kind of base down here. Second T1 bomber out for Armageddon. Going to try and do a little bit more harassment, maybe pick up some of the engineers working on mass down here. Of course, it's very vulnerable at the moment. No inties out for Nefarious, although he's working on his first ones now. And there's one out now, so he has got some measure of defense. Oh, sorry, there's two out. So that did look like he'd actually seen that bomber, but elected not to actually go and do anything about it. You can actually see where Nefarious is paying to. Looks like he's going to drop one or two engineers off here. So one engineer is going to come off down here. What's he going to do with it? That's the question. Nothing at the moment. He's going to sit there, and the others are going to be dropped up here. So there's a lot of mass that he's going to be able to pick up here, which is nice work. But also at the same time, we've got engineers coming in from Armageddon, and that could really hamper the plans of Nefarious, who's going to do a sneaky mass grab and get up some land factories. But it's going to be one engineer versus three, and as long as Armageddon's on the ball, I really don't see that coming for too much. And you can see this Inti now trying to take out these transports, get a couple of engineer kills. Oh, why did he break off? Why did he break off? I think that was a mistake. Could have taken that out quite happily. But air superiority definitely with Nefarious at the moment. He's been pumping out the Intis, and definitely wants to deny the expansion, the transport expansion that Armageddon's favouring. Nefarious asking for some power. Not sure you're going to get any luck there, my friend. But you can see land factory up for Armageddon at this bottom section, so that is going to be the end of this little engineers. But I like the intent, certainly. But meanwhile, these engineers starting some serious land span bases up here, and this is a nice little piece of hampering technique. We saw the aggressive style of play actually at point of reach when he was playing, I think it was Rock, doing exactly the same thing. And even if this doesn't succeed, if he doesn't get any kind of killing blow on the main thing, it hampers your opponent, it makes them expend energy. Meanwhile, you can be building up for some other attack up here. So we'll have to see how Armageddon manages to deal with it. Obviously, the pressure is on for Armageddon because he wants to avoid relegation to the losers bracket. This is not an elimination round, of course. The loser of this will go on to play Luzon in what is effectively the final of the losers bracket, and then the winner of that match will come back to play the winner of this match in the grand final. So it's not an elimination round. There's plenty to play for, but also the pressure's not as high as it could be. They've got a second chance at this stage. But of course, you'd much rather be in Nefarious's position at this stage, be 1-0 up in games. And nice little spam now accumulating here for Nefarious. Let's see what Armageddon actually knows. He really, unless he's flown past it, he has no idea that this is here. So unless he spots this soon and elects to deal with it, it could be a real problem. But still nothing looking like it's happening anytime soon. And my goodness, the amount of units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 land factories up and running in this little section. So he's going to spot it now, and that will be quite the shock. And let's see how he reacts. Immediate land units being dispatched to try and deal with it. Has he seen that? Oh, that's got to be a bad feeling. You hate that when you've been totally fooled by your opponent. You haven't seen something and suddenly you realize there's a base on your side of the map and it's pumping out all kinds of baddies. And look at that. The radar signature is just coming into range now for Armageddon. He's probably going to have to bring his comm down. I don't know where his comm actually is. Something going on. I don't know where he's put it. Might have moved it up here actually. But certainly it's a nice hampering technique. You can see the amount of difficulties it's going to cause Armageddon. He's got to focus on taking this out, and he's got to worry about taking out all those land factories at the back there to stem this tide. But it's caused quite a lot of investment, it has to be said. So if this doesn't work out and this isn't cost effective for Nefarious, it could cost him a little bit later on in the game. Lots and lots of T1 power plants in jeopardy now. But T2 transports actually quite a nice little use of their ground attack ability there, but of course doing still woeful amounts of damage. Taking forever just to take down a T1 tank. It's almost not even worth those transports having any weapons at all. I mean, it's a medium tank and it's, taking forever to get it killed. But still, Armageddon under pressure early here. Looks like Nefarious has managed to expand up here. He's got some land factories up and running. Take a look at the economies. We can see how this is affecting the two players. Nefarious sitting at plus 156 mass. This was pretty similar actually, 140, 150 mass for Armageddon. But Armageddon having serious power issues. He's obviously been in the middle of upgrades and doesn't want to be losing any of these T1 power gens, which he's obviously lost a lot of. So initially it looks like this push has certainly been worth it. But doesn't want to lose it from this spam coming in the bottom from this little base that's been set up underneath. Has managed to get a PD up, but that's going to be no match for the T1 artillery, which is going to deal with that. And unless Nefarious elects to move some of his troops down, he's going to lose it, which he does. He's going to lose some factories regardless by the time this is taken out. So Nefarious managing to grab the middle, also getting a little bit of a land grab at the top here. So Nefarious playing very, very aggressively, really looking to hem the Armageddon in, stop him from expanding, but at the same time hasn't taken advantage of all the mass that's available to him on this side. He's up to T2 air now, so he's pumping out the fighter bombers. And it's going to be interesting to see if Armageddon can keep up with that tech. Obviously, he's now at Tech 2 as well. He's working on T2 gunships, so that will counter all of this very, very nicely. I don't see there's no anti-air up just yet, and of course no T2 land factory to get T2 mobile flak up. which really would save it. But I think this is probably going to be the end of this base now. But it certainly served its purpose. It slowed Armageddon up. Armageddon being very cautious with his gunship, not wanting to bring it in case it gets picked off by all these inties. Looking pretty even actually on intie numbers over here, although there's a lot more heading over to Nefarious' base. So we've got multiple air battles happening on all sides of the map at the moment. Gunships, no, sorry, transports coming up to try and harass some of these points up here. He's just probably spotted this. And we'll have to think about ditching her. So at this stage of the game, Armageddon has to feel he's under tremendous amounts of pressure. But T2 gunships working very, very nicely, swatting the stuff in the middle. And Nefarious just not using his advantage, it doesn't seem like. He needs to pick up these mass points. I mean, he's going for it as fast as he can, and it's never, never easy when your opponent has quite so many units all over the map. But it really is... I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw quite so many engagements this early on in so many different parts of the map. Of course, these are siege assault bots. These assault bots are going to do so much damage, and this, I imagine, I mean, he could just send this in now. I really don't know why he hasn't. His attention is obviously elsewhere, but this should be shut down now. And also up here, this little mini base that's been set up, probably not going to get going. Is numerically superior in favour of Nefarious for the moment, but this close to Armageddon's base, he should be able to deal with it. But this drop that's happened at the top here, and now Armageddon countering with some play of his own, saying, Nefarious, you're not going to get away with that. I can do what you do to me just as well. And this little base now looking under pretty significant pressure. Lots of T2 gunships and assault bots. And that's going to be the end of this little base down here. Still valiant effort there from Nefarious. Nice idea. But what has happened to the Air Force? I suppose they're all up here. Fighter bombers. He's switched to fighter bombers. He's not been producing any more inties at all. So he's elected to take all of them up here, deal with this. But meanwhile, anything that's airworthy down here is going to be in trouble. Loads of gunships coming over from Armageddon now. Looks like he's bringing it over to deal with the stuff on this side of things. And there's lots of inties actually now in the base for Nefarious. But it would not be a bad idea for him to bring back these and help support. Of course, at this stage, does he know? They're just literally popping up now. So that will be a complete surprise. He'll have to bring these inties down if he's paying attention. Of course, airdrops coming in at the same time. Wants to take them out before they land. And Armageddon probably should have landed that first transport, but his attention probably wasn't in that locale at that time of space. Meanwhile, these gunships going absolutely to town on all these T2 mass points. And that's going to be a serious blow for Nefarious. Massive mass loss. There's so much going on all sides of the map. But still, I mean, he's got inties down here. Use them. Finally, Nefarious has spotted this attack and is sending his inties down to deal with it. But the damage has already been done. All 4 mass points taken out. Armageddon, inties not too close to the locale to actually be able to get in there and help defend these gunships. A lot better HP than other inties, so might buy him a little time, but still reluctant to do it. But amazingly, despite all the fighter bombers that were in the air that have been, I guess, shot down, ASF's now in the air for Nefarious, but amazingly, fighter bombers didn't manage to get rid of this base. And this is problems now for Nefarious. He's got all sorts of T1 spam that's going to be pushing in down on the top. And lots of T2 gunships. Both players now at Tech 3 Air. And I'm going to slow this down to normal speed because there is so much going on all sides of the map. And amazing, I am astonished. It looks like Armageddon has really wrestled control of this match back from Nefarious after that very, very aggressive opening from Nefarious. Goes to show you just what a competent player Armageddon actually is to be able to come back from that kind of harassment. I think if that was me, I would have just folded and gone, I'm beaten. But ASF's in the field now for both sides, and this ASF is going to make very, very short work of all of these inties. Currently on pause while he's obviously doing some kind of upgrading. I think he'd probably switch back to ASF's as production as soon as possible because they're so valuable. Meanwhile, huge amounts of T1 spam coming in for Armageddon, heading towards the main base of Nefarious, who, to all intents and purposes, is looking pretty vulnerable right now. If he loses any of these power installations, that could really hurt. Has to be able to keep up with the air battle. Of course, air unit production is so very expensive when it comes to power. Interesting strap bomber out for Nefarious. It's either harassment bomb or he's going to be looking to do some kind of snipe. I think he's probably just trying to get in there. Maybe if he gets a lucky shot in here, he could really do some damage on the production ability of Armageddon, slow up the production of the ASFs, but lots and lots of air units in the field. And I'm astonished about how quickly Armageddon's managed to turn this around. Very, very competent play. But meanwhile, lots of T1 units streaming in now for Armageddon. Nefarious hastily constructing T2 PD, but it's going to go down pretty quickly, I imagine, to all this T1 artillery. Nefarious swatting things as fast as he can with his commander. Bombs away down here from the strap bomber. Oh, it takes out a huge amount, 25 kills, so that's 25 less engineers for Armageddon. Of course, that's not going to get round to make a second pass, I don't think. Gets one off. Oh! Takes out a mass point as well. So, yeah, pretty worthwhile, I'd say. But, 3 air superiority fighters coming in now for Nefarious. I just think he kind of underestimates the level at which Armageddon's air is currently at. Probably thought he had much more significant advantage because of that beginning he had, but meanwhile lots of T1 units coming in the top, focusing down this T3 mass point. Will it get there is the question. I think that's going to go down. There's nothing Nefarious's comm can do about it, and that's going to hurt a lot. I mean, he's lost a lot of mass. He's lost all of the T2 down here. He's currently rebuilding it now into T1. And now he's just lost the T3 in his home base. We take a look at the economies. Nefarious sitting on a paltry 90 mass and not making use of it as well. His production power has suffered pretty significantly. Meanwhile, 200 odd mass for Armageddon. So really significant advantage. And I think, to be honest, barring a miracle, looks like Armageddon is going to even up this match. I don't really see any way back from this, although he's about to throw a whole load of T2 gunships away, I imagine. The question is, what's he going for? If he took it in now to maybe take out that T3 power, which would definitely be worthwhile. That looks like it's what he plans to do. He knows they're going down, so make use of it, but no, there's just too much air coverage and they got swatted away. But yeah, had he accompanied them with these ASFs though, he would have been absolutely laughing. But very nice work with the T2 gunships in this game. It's definitely given Armageddon the platform in which to launch his counterattack, and it just shows you how knowing the size of the map and playing to your strengths on, you know, with that in mind, will win games, even if you're under pressure early on. You know, so those gunships absolutely key for Armageddon. Now making more drops on this hand side, and if you look at map control now, Nefarious is just cornered in his base. There's literally nothing left for him on the rest of the map. He's completely outnumbered in the air, and we'll either see some kind of comm suicide or some kind of GG surrender go up soon enough, I'd imagine. Building an experimental assault bot, but at this stage, I mean, that's not going to do anything. Even if he was to finish that immediately now and start that walking over to Armageddon's base, the game would still be over by the time it got there. Nefarious still chasing T1 units around his base, and he's managed to get up decent amounts of T2 PD at the back here, and there's some more queued up down here. What he could really do with is maybe getting some Tech 3 SAMs up, try to isolate this or stem this tide of T3 air attack that he's been under for quite some time. He's on the strap bomber attack now. If that goes for this power plant, he really is going to be in trouble. That's going to hurt. Oh, amazingly, that survives with no. There's another bomber coming in. So that really, really hurts Nefarious. All of those engineers that were flanking it as well, working on that experimental going up at the same time. And looks like it's just a matter of time now, to be honest. There's nothing left on the board really for Nefarious. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit more. Just Armageddon systematically now going after Nefarious' power. Very little left on the board for him. So many now. T2 assault bots in the fray as well. And there is the GG from Nefarious. And I gotta say, very, very gutsy play from Armageddon. The way the game was shaping up early, I thought Nefarious was going to make it, but no, not so. It's very gutsy drops of his own, very gutsy gunship play, and it really has been, the key to this game has been controlling the air. It's been so important. And Armageddon just finishing off Nefarious' base now, bit by bit. So, most importantly, it's going to be a deciding game. So I'm going to have a third game for you guys coming up momentarily. Still got my Rambo ACU, Nefarious says. I'm sure that's going to help you, my man. Too many assault bots on you. Down to 1000 HP. And there's the game. So, well done, Armageddon. And well done to all of you for coming to the channel to watch this. I've been Guile, and I will see you in Game 3.